So, planets with two suns, like Tatooine from Star Wars, used to sound like pure fantasy. For decades, scientists believed these systems were too unstable to exist. Two stars tugging at a planet should fling it into space or drop it into one of the suns. Except, it turns out that nature didn't get the memo. Astronomers have found a planet calmly orbiting two stars like it's no big deal. This planet lives closer to its two parent stars than any other directly imaged planet in a binary star system astronomers have ever seen. Now, direct imaging means they saw the planet's light, not just its shadow. The whole system sits about 446 light-years away, so the light we see from it today left before humans ever built modern cities. This space monster is roughly 6 times the mass of Jupiter. And even more surprising, the planet is only about 13 million years old. That sounds ancient until you zoom out a little. Earth is about 4.6 billion years old, which makes this planet basically a newborn in cosmic terms. The two suns of this monster orbit each other incredibly fast and complete a full loop in just 18 Earth days. That means their gravity constantly shifts, yanking space around them like a cosmic washing machine. Even so, the planet stays locked in its path, so it takes it 300 Earth years to finish a single orbit. So nobody fully understands how this planet formed in the first place. When two stars orbit each other this closely, their gravity usually tears apart planet-forming material before anything big can take shape. Scientists have only found a few dozen planets like this so far, and that's nowhere near enough to piece together the full story. To solve the mystery, they need more data. Now, another cool find that still needs more research is a planet so stretched by gravity that it looks like a lemon, not a sphere. This planet is nothing like the calm blue and green worlds we see in space movies. It orbits a pulsar, which is basically a star's corpse. When a massive star expires, it collapses into an ultra-dense object that spins insanely fast and blasts radiation like a cosmic lighthouse. Being near one of those means game over for anything solid. And yet, this planet hangs on, barely. The gravity stretches it, pulling harder on the side facing the pulsar than the far side, like cosmic taffy. And here's where it gets extra unsettling. When scientists analyzed this planet's atmosphere, they didn't find water or oxygen. They found helium and pure carbon. No clouds, no oceans, no chance of life. According to everything we know about planet formation, this world shouldn't exist at all. So it might not be a planet in the normal sense. It could be the exposed core of a star that got shredded, leaving behind something stuck between planet and stellar corpse. That's a pretty scary trend. The line between planets and stars keeps getting blurry. And speaking of scary, meet this guy. This system lives around two red dwarf stars. These two stars orbit each other at a distance similar to how far Jupiter sits from the Sun. Scientists found two Earth-sized planets and a third possible one squeezed right up next to the stars. One planet completes a full year in just over 2 days. Another takes about 3.5 days. The candidate planet orbits even faster. To put that in perspective, these planets sit less than 2 million miles from their star. The Moon sits about 250,000 miles from Earth. So yeah, these worlds are close. When they combined data from space and ground-based telescopes, astronomers realized they were staring at something totally new – planets that transit or pass in front of both stars. Most planets in double-star systems orbit only one star, and this setup shouldn't last long according to the rules of physics. But these planets exist anyway, calmly breaking the rules. So this guy proves that planet formation works in ways we still don't fully understand, and space clearly enjoys messing with our expectations. Now, let's crank up the horror a notch. Astronomers made the first ever 3D map of a planet outside our solar system. And not just any planet. This one is so hot it literally tears water molecules apart. As the planet moved behind its star, the James Webb watched tiny changes in the star's light at different colors or wavelengths. Some colors get absorbed by water vapor, others don't. By stacking all that info together, scientists figured out temperatures at different heights and locations in the planet's atmosphere. And that's how they learned that parts of its atmosphere heat up to nearly 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than molten lava. This superhot planet sits about 400 light-years away and weighs around 10 times as much as Jupiter. It races around its star in just 23 hours. 1 year there is basically a day. And because it's so close, the temperatures get so high. Winds try to move heat around, but they totally fail. WASP 18b's atmosphere barely has any water and instead overflows with carbon monoxide. Astronomers once believed water should be common in giant planet atmospheres. This world proves water is optional, not guaranteed. Now, magma worlds are another perfect proof of that. There's a huge group of planets called sub-Neptunes, planets bigger than Earth but smaller than Neptune. For a while, some scientists hoped these worlds were Haitian planets, covered in deep oceans of water or ice, wrapped in thick atmospheres. One famous example was K2-18. Its atmosphere showed methane and carbon dioxide, but almost no ammonia. But as it turned out, lava dissolves ammonia too, so the missing ammonia doesn't prove water at all. It could just mean the planet has a global ocean of magma instead. The researchers model how these planets heat up, cool down, and evolve over time. They asked a simple question: do these planets ever cool enough to stop being lava worlds? And the answer was almost never. When they tested thousands of known sub-Neptunes, they say almost all of them are likely lava worlds, not water worlds. In simple terms, these planets don't breathe water vapor, they breathe rock vapor. Their atmospheres come from magma boiling, not oceans evaporating. And that changes everything. Many worlds we once labeled maybe habitable turn into hellscapes the moment you run the numbers honestly. And that means space isn't hiding Earth clones, but mass-producing furnaces and other sorts of monsters. Take this bad boy, for instance. It sits only about 64 light-years away, which is uncomfortably close in cosmic terms, and it's the nearest hot Jupiter to Earth. From afar, it looks stunning, a smooth, deep blue marble floating peacefully in space. But that color hides something absolutely brutal. On this planet, it rains glass, sideways. Winds scream across the atmosphere at around 5,400 miles per hour, fast enough to shred anything instantly. The blue color comes from tiny particles of silicate, the stuff glass is made of, floating in the air. The planet's surface temperature hits about 2,400 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt rock. That heat turns those silicates into microscopic shards of glass that whip around the planet like a worldwide sandblaster. Standing there wouldn't hurt. You wouldn't exist long enough to ever feel it. And then there's the darkest planet ever found. It reflects less than 1% of the light that hits it. It's darker than coal, darker than black paint. Light just disappears into it. Not all planets even bother with stars at all. Astronomers have found rogue planets, worlds kicked out of their solar systems. These lonely planets drift through space in total darkness, frozen and untethered, with no sunrise ever again. Now, all of this shows us that our universe isn't designed for life. Life survives despite the universe, not because of it. Earth isn't typical, it's lucky. We're only at the beginning of this discovery era. Every year, new telescopes sharpen the picture, and every year, the picture gets stranger. The more clearly we see the universe, the less it resembles our imagination. And that's the most unsettling truth of all.
Right now, 4 tiny, Earth-like planets are chilling around one of the closest star systems to us. We're talking second closest. These little rocky worlds are each about 20 to 30% the mass of Earth. So not quite Earth 2.0, but still pretty solid. Will one of them become our new home one day? Well, all of them are pretty close, so future humans might actually visit them someday. Not like next year or anything, but we could potentially send missions there. Don't expect any extraterrestrial neighbors, though. Those planets probably aren't home to life, or at least not anything we'd recognize. Let's take a look at them. The planets are called Bernard B, C, D, and E. How creative, huh? The innermost has a mass of 26% of Earth. The second one is a bit bigger, with a mass of 30% of Earth. The third one has 4% more mass than the previous. And the outermost is… no, it's not the biggest. Actually, it's just a baby, with a mass of 19% of Earth. All the planets are likely rocky, like the inner planets of our solar system. They orbit their star very closely. That's why they only need a few days, under a week, to make a full circle. Now, what about that star these little guys are circling? It's called Barnard's star. Astronomers have always had a hunch there might be at least one planet orbiting it. First off, this star is super close, in cosmic terms of course. Only the Alpha Centauri trio is closer to us. Barnard's star is just under 6 light-years away, which is basically next door. At the same time, it's not like our Sun. Barnard's star is a red dwarf, the most common kind of star out there. It's got only about 1/6 the mass of the Sun. But red dwarfs are a goldmine for learning about planets outside our solar system. And studying Barnard's star can help scientists figure out what planets around single stars, like our Sun or this red dwarf, are like. Or what kind of environments red dwarf planets might have. And most importantly, we might finally find the answer to this super important question. Could any of these places actually support life? For the longest time, scientists thought there might be a big Jupiter-like gas giant hanging out near Barnard's star. All because the star has a little wobble. It looks as if it shifts towards and away from Earth over time, so something might be tugging on it. Interestingly, it wasn't a giant planet doing the pulling. According to a study from March 2025, it's actually 4 smaller rocky planets, each about 4 times the mass of Mercury. One day, they ganged up and started tugging on the star together. These planets are incredibly close to their star, so close that they can whip around it in just a few days. Sadly, because of that, they might be way too hot for anything like life. Besides, since these 4 seem to explain all the star's movement, the researchers think there's probably nothing else orbiting the habitable zone. So, there's no Earth 2.0 orbiting around Barnard's star. Still, it's an awesome find, especially since this star is basically our cosmic neighbor. Plus, the system might not stay off limits forever. With nuclear fusion engines or light sails, futuristic propulsion systems that could make the trip way faster. We might probably go there one day. And then we'll finally figure out if these worlds are really lifeless and maybe even colonize them. Now, let's see how scientists found the star's hidden planets. Normally, astronomers spot exoplanets when they catch them crossing in front of their stars and blocking some light. But Barnard's star is tricky, because in our view, it's like we're looking from above the system, so its planets don't block the light in the usual way. That's why they call it the Great White Whale of planet hunting. To get around this, researchers used a super sensitive instrument called Maroon X attached to the Gemini North telescope on Hawaii's Mauna Kea volcano. Over 112 nights, spread out across 3 years, the telescope picked up tiny changes in the star's movement. These shifts let scientists figure out how many planets must be tugging on the star, as well as estimate their sizes. At first, they found 3 planets. But then they used another device, deliciously called Espresso, and located at the Very Large Telescope in Chile. And only after a shot of this espresso did they find a 4th planet. By combining the data from both instruments, they were able to more or less confidently say their findings were solid, not just random glitches in the data. Even though red dwarfs like Barnard's star are the most common type of star in the universe, most are way too far for us to see planets around them easily. These new findings suggest that small rocky planets could be pretty common around these stars, and that's huge for future discoveries. Now, finding new exoplanets is cool and all, but it might be even more exciting to dwell on their birth and evolution. And a recent study has made the sweetest discovery ever. Newly born exoplanets might actually look like Smarties, that popular British candy, rather than spheres. We've always kinda assumed that baby planets are born ball-shaped, but they might be oblate spheroids instead. A team of scientists from the University of Central Lancashire in England used computer simulations to build a model of the formation of planets in dense gas disks surrounding young stars. After that, they compared these models with actual observations and noticed that the young planets took pretty unusual shapes. The thing is that even though almost 6,000 exoplanets have been discovered so far, astronomers still don't have a clear understanding of the sequence of events marking their birth and early evolution. But this new research might finally shed light on this process. So, the astronomers examined the formation mechanisms of gas giant planets like Jupiter and came to the conclusion that planets built up from their centers. After that, the researchers focused on the initial shapes of such planets. They were also interested in how they could encourage the growth of these planetary seeds. How could they turn into such massive planets, some of them bigger than our solar system's largest giants? According to the standard theory of the formation of planets, such growth happens gradually and smoothly. First, dust particles start to stick together, turning into larger and larger objects. This process lasts for a very long time and is known as core accretion. It's the model of planet formation scientists favor. There's another theory, according to which planets' birth might happen over shorter periods of time. This data involves a protoplanetary disk, a disk of gas which makes up 99% of its mass, and dust, around 1%. This disk orbits a newly formed star, and hypothetically, planets might form from this cloud. Protoplanetary disks are likely to be common byproducts of star formation. They might range in mass from 0.001 to 0.3 solar masses. Inside such disks, matter slowly moves inward, and dust particles grow bigger, to the size of pebbles. At one point, after 2 to 3 million years, a giant rotating protoplanetary disk breaks into pieces, and that's how baby planets are born. This theory is known as the disk instability model. As for the model built by the team, it seems to support this second, less favored theory: rapid planet formation through disk instability. All because this theory explains how large planets can form relatively quickly at pretty large distances from their host stars. As for the weird flattened shape of these newly formed planets, it might be due to the material falling onto them. Most likely, it goes mainly to the poles of new planets. One of the main conclusions of the research is that the appearance of young exoplanets, as we see them from Earth, may vary depending on how they're angled. If Earth is directed face-on to an exoplanet, it will seem that the latter has a traditional spherical shape. But if seen on edge, a baby exoplanet will look like a real Smartie. The team is going to continue to investigate the formation of planets with the help of an improved computer model. They believe they can find out the role the environment around a young planet plays in affecting its shape and formation. Look at this giant donut-shaped region far away from Earth, beyond the orbit of Neptune. We're talking about a distance of more than 2.5 billion miles. It's the Kuiper Belt, and something eerie and bizarre is happening there. Dwarf planets and other small objects dwelling there refuse to cluster together. Instead, they follow particular orbits, which is weird. The reason might be a large, mysterious planet hiding beyond Pluto. Its gravity might be messing up the orbits of those Kuiper space bodies. Hear me out. Our solar system is made up of the Sun and everything that goes around it because of the star's strong gravity. This includes the 8 main planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. There are also smaller things like moons, asteroids, and Pluto. For a long time, people thought Pluto was the 9th planet, but when it was reclassified as a dwarf planet, scientists started looking for a new Planet X. Did they have a thing about odd numbers or what? And guess what? Some really think there might be a big, icy planet hiding far, far away beyond Neptune. This mystery planet is often called Planet 9. Now, Planet 9 hasn't been seen yet, but scientists think it might be out there because of some tiny, faraway space rocks called etnos that move following bizarre, confusing paths. These paths seem to be grouped together and tilted in a way that doesn't happen by chance. This could mean there's a hidden planet pulling them into place with its gravity. If Planet 9 is real, it might be 5 to 10 times heavier than Earth. It would also be super far away, hundreds of times farther from the Sun than Earth is. Over the years, scientists have guessed different distances for its orbit, and the newest guess in 2025 says it could be about 290 times farther from the Sun than Earth. There are some cool ideas about where Planet 9 came from. It might have started as a big planet that Jupiter once kicked out of the inner solar system, or it might have come from another star or even wandered around space on its own before getting caught by the Sun's gravity. Even though scientists have looked really hard using powerful telescopes, no one has actually seen Planet 9 yet, and so far, its existence is still just a theory. But recently, a group of researchers tried something clever. They used data from two special space surveys called ERAS and ACARI. These two looked at the sky in invisible light, far infrared, about 23 years apart, which is helpful because Planet 9 is supposed to move very slowly. The team focused on a special list from ACARI, which is better at finding faint, moving things in space. They guessed how bright Planet 9 might be and how fast it might move based on how big, far away, and cold it could be. Then they looked for matching blips in the sky that were seen by both ERAS and ACARI, but not in the exact same spot. That's because a real planet would have moved a little over 23 years, and they indeed found 13 possible matches that could be Planet 9. Their estimations were based on how far away the object seemed to be, 500 to 700 times farther from the Sun than Earth, and how heavy it might be, which is 7 to 17 times Earth's mass. After looking very carefully at all the images, they narrowed it down to one really good candidate. The two detections weren't in the same spot in both surveys, and the way they appeared in the ACARI map matched what you'd expect from a slow-moving object. It showed up on one date and wasn't there 6 months earlier, but of course, there was a catch. Apparently, the old data isn't good enough to figure out the exact path of the potential planet. So, the team wants to do new follow-up observations using a special camera called DCAM, which is really good at spotting faint, moving objects. That way, they can find out if this candidate is really Planet 9. Additionally, it can help us learn more about how our solar system works and how it formed. If Planet 9 is ever discovered, it would totally change the way we understand our solar system. It could explain why some far-out space rocks in the Kuiper Belt tilt weirdly. The thing is, most planets go around the Sun in a flat-ish circle, but those faraway objects are tilted about 20 degrees. Planet 9 might be the reason why. Next, we'd probably find out why those tilted objects seem to point the same way. Their orbits are grouped together in one direction. A big hidden planet's gravity could be hurting them like sheep. There are also some strange tilted objects super far away. They don't make sense unless something big, like Planet 9, is tugging on them. A few space rocks orbit the Sun backward between the big planets, which is kinda the wrong way. That's super weird unless something big is messing with them. Some far-out Kuiper Belt objects keep crossing Neptune's path and haven't been flung away. That's because Planet 9 might be helping keep their orbits stable over a long time. Another cool thing is that if Planet 9 existed, it would be a super-Earth, a kind of planet we see a lot around other stars, but we don't have in our solar system yet. So finding one here would make our solar system more like the others out there. Throughout history, people have been wondering if there could be hidden planets far beyond Neptune, even before Pluto was found. Back in 1880, a guy named George Forbes guessed there might be two unknown planets way out there. One about 100 times farther from the Sun than Earth, and the other about 300 times farther. He thought these mystery planets might be pulling on some comets and changing their orbits, kind of like how Jupiter does with the comets near it. In 2004, scientists found a weird little world called Sedna. It had a strange path around the Sun that didn't seem to be affected by any of the known planets. Its closest point to the Sun, called perihelion, is way too far for Neptune to be the reason. This made some scientists wonder if Sedna got pushed into its path by a hidden planet, maybe even something as big as Earth or bigger. Others thought maybe it was a star that flew by a long time ago, or another star that formed near ours. Then, in 2014, another odd object was discovered. It had a very similar orbit to Sedna, which made people even more suspicious that there could be something big out there messing with their paths. This kicked off a new round of the Planet X or Planet 9 hunt. At a meeting in 2012, a scientist named Rodney Gomez said that maybe there was a big, hidden planet around 1,500 times farther from the Sun than Earth. He thought it could explain the orbits of other odd objects, like some far-out comets and centaurs, small bodies that wander among the giant planets. At that time, those who supported the Planet 9 theory believed that if it existed, it would move around the Sun in a huge, stretched-out circle called an elliptical orbit. It would be about 400 to 800 times farther from the Sun than Earth is, about 13 to 26 times farther than Neptune. If it really had that kind of orbit, it would take around 10,000 to 20,000 years to go around the Sun just once. Plus, if it indeed orbited the Sun, it wouldn't follow the same flat path as the other planets. Its path would be tilted by about 15 degrees to 25 degrees. The farthest point in its orbit, called aphelion, would be in the direction of the Taurus constellation. As for the closest point, it would point towards Serpens, Ophiuchus, or Libra. As for the composition of Planet 9, it would probably be a lot like Uranus or Neptune. It would have a thick atmosphere made of hydrogen and helium, and it would be super cold, negative 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Its core would be made of iron, and its middle layer would be full of rock and water ice. At the same time, if the planet was smaller and denser, then it might be more like Earth, with a rocky surface instead of a gassy one. According to a scientist named Mike Brown, if Planet 9 was real, a space probe would reach it in about 20 years if we used a powerful slingshot path around the Sun.
The hunt for interesting exoplanets and life forms somewhere out there in the vast expanse of the universe keeps going. No stopping here. We're basically searching for a second Earth, a planet that's similar to our home, and where we could finally find some space friends. Hey, we're not picky. Any form of life is fine, even some bacteria-sized organisms. And this search has mostly been going on in the habitable zone around other stars. We call this the Goldilocks zone. That's a region where conditions are barely just right for liquid water to exist, whether we're talking about the surface of a planet or a moon. The hotter the star, the more space we get to explore, because its habitable zone spreads far away. And in terms of endless space that we yet know so little about, that's a lot of work. That's why we're fans of red dwarfs. There are hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, and probably around 80% of them are red dwarfs. These tiny stars are much cooler than our Sun. It means that their habitable zones are much smaller and closer to the star, so we know better where to look for planets. They're circling around their central star, and at some point, bingo, there it is. They pass in front of it and block out some of its light. The Kepler Space Telescope has already helped us find thousands of planets using this method, and most of them are orbiting around red dwarfs. Some of these planets are similar in size to Earth, and many of them could have nearly 25 times more water than our entire planet. Let's move to these planets scientists discovered, though. I want to show you something special. So, you've heard of super-Earths, right? More massive than Earth, lighter than Neptune, can be made of rock, gas, or a mix of both. Some of them have thick atmospheres, while others have thin or no atmospheres at all. You may also have stumbled upon mini Neptunes by now too. They're almost as big as Neptune, and unlike normal gas giants, they have solid cores. That way, they can support a dense atmosphere with water and some other chemicals necessary for life. There's also hot Jupiters. Those are pretty cool, but only if they're far away from us. You know that one annoying and unpredictable neighbor you can never get rid of or figure out what they're going to do? Yeah, that would be a hot Jupiter, with strong gravity that can destabilize the orbits of smaller planets or other space bodies in the system. If we had such a neighbor, there would be more comets and asteroids hitting our surface. Luckily, our Jupiter's a good and peaceful neighbor that minds his own business, at least for now. But let's leave all these and many other planets out there alone now. Imagine traveling around in your spaceship and coming across a giant eyeball just floating there in the darkness of space and staring at the central star of that solar system. It's not a monster. Hopefully, space friends we'll make in the future won't look that big and scary, so it won't blink or turn towards you as you come closer. It's actually a planet. A little bit bizarre, but still very cool. And yup, you guessed it right, we call such eyeball planets. Now, eyeball planets are surprisingly common. Plus, some normal planets can potentially turn into them too. Eyeball planets form when matter and dust accumulates around a star and gradually turns into a solid object. It starts spinning, and over time, the gravity of the star pulls on the planet and slows its rotation until it becomes tidally locked. That means one hemisphere always faces the star, while the other is in darkness all the time. Now, we have a good example of this phenomenon near us, too. Our moon makes a circle around Earth once a month. It takes the same amount of time to turn a single time on its axis. That way, we actually always see the same face of the moon. Who knows, maybe the other side is even prettier, if you like craters and stuff. So, one of the most interesting things about eyeball planets is their appearance. If they had water on their surface, the side facing the star would have clear, bright blue oceans, the ones we'd want to visit if we ever got a chance to go on an interstellar vacation. And the other side would be more for adventurers who like harsh and challenging surroundings. Since it's in constant darkness, it would most likely be very cold and covered in ice. We've discovered so many planets outside of our solar system in the last 30 years. Super-Earths are, of course, especially interesting. It seems that many of them are not that pleasant, since they're pretty hazy and cloudy. It means it's harder to spot any life there. But some scientists still think they're promising spots when it comes to finding life beyond our solar system. Eyeball super-Earths would be a good start. These planets are probably covered in large oceans. On the cold half, where the eternal night reigns, you'd experience Arctic conditions. I feel cold just looking at this. But the day side is my jam. Plus, it sounds promising when it comes to finding life. With all that sunlight, oceans, and stuff. One of the good examples where scientists are looking for life is an eyeball super-Earth that lies in a habitable zone of the closest star to our solar system, called Proxima b. Its day side could even have conditions and an atmosphere to support some form of life. There could be a large deep ocean covering its surface. It could be really salty, but some forms of life could still survive there. Check out the Dead Sea on Earth. It's extremely salty, but some bacteria have still evolved to live there. And they're probably doing well, having their own world and all that. It's not crowded because there are no animals there. Fish that accidentally end up in the Dead Sea won't survive there for long. So, similarly, it's possible that bacteria or some other forms of life could exist in this potentially very salty ocean on Proxima b as well. But the open ocean on Proxima b could be tricky. On the dark side of the planet, the ocean could freeze, and sea ice could drift into warmer waters. That way, the ocean would cool, and more of it would freeze, even on the sunny side. The only way to prevent this global freeze-over would be an atmosphere with a lot of greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide. This kind of atmosphere would trap the heat from the planet's surface and wouldn't allow it to escape into space, like what happens with Venus, the hottest planet in our solar system. Without an atmosphere with greenhouse gases, the surface of Proxima b would be much colder, so it's possible that the planet would completely freeze over. The opposite scenario could also be possible. Warmer waters could serve as a transporter of heat from warm to cold regions. We don't know much about the conditions on the planet yet, so Proxima b could range from a frozen wasteland to a hot, hazy world, depending on many factors. So yeah, an eyeball planet within the habitable zone sounds promising, but its surface can still wildly range from a frozen desert to an endless ocean. Some experts believe that drifting sea ice might cool many exoplanets out there, and they can't turn into eyeball worlds. Instead, many just become sad, dark snowballs, completely covered in ice. A cool spot to spend your interstellar winter holidays, but not a place where you'd hope to find life, unfortunately. Some studies show that even Earth may have gone through some snowball stages many times in history. One of those happened around 2.2 billion years ago. I wasn't around. While the other one hit the planet 630 million years ago. During these phases, all of our beautiful oceans were covered with snow and sea ice. Perhaps even the continents were just thick ice sheets, at least on the surface. Alright, enough with the freezy icy stuff. I need some hot chocolate.
Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. More than 1,300 Earths could fit inside this gas giant. It's also 2.5 times more massive than all the other planets of the solar system combined. But if you think this is mind-boggling, I've got some great news for you. Very recently, a team of astronomers have discovered a much bigger planet with the help of the Subaru telescope and the NASA Hubble Space Telescope. It's a Jupiter-like protoplanet orbiting a very young star, AB Aurigae. The star is probably still forming and is no more than 5 million years old. For comparison, our Sun is 4.6 billion years old. The young star is located at around 531 light-years away from Earth in the constellation of Aurigae. The star is shrouded in a thick, quickly moving layer of gas and dust. This disk feeds the growth of the star. Later, what's left of the disk will come together to form the elements of the planetary system. Planets, dwarf planets, comets, asteroids, you name it. But back to the newly discovered planet. It's a gas giant whose mass equals that of 9 Jupiters. Can you imagine this colossus? It takes the planet, named AB Aurigae b, almost 588 Earth years to complete just one journey around its parent star. Maybe because it's 93.9 AU, astronomical units, away from it. Now, why is the discovery of this planet so amazing? Because according to astronomers, it's been forming in a very bizarre way. Or should I say, is forming, since this gas giant is still in the process. Anyway, the unusual thing is that AB Aurigae b is coming together as a result of a top-down gravitational collapse of giant clouds of gas. But scientists say that a much more common model of planetary formation is when dust and rocks gradually accumulate around some kind of core. This proves the idea that there are numerous ways for planets to form. It can also mean that there probably are very diverse planetary systems in our home Milky Way galaxy. But AB Aurigae b isn't the largest exoplanet ever discovered. In 2005, astronomers spotted a mysterious space body. Later, they called it GQ Lupi b. The thing was orbiting a young star at a distance 2.5 times greater than that between the Sun and Pluto. Scientists came to the conclusion that the object was either a planet or a brown dwarf, which is basically a tiny star. If astronomers decide that GQ Lupi b is a planet, it will be the largest ever found, with a radius that is 3.5 times that of Jupiter. The biggest star we know about is called UY Scuti. This hypergiant has a radius that is about 1,700 times greater than that of the Sun. If you somehow manage to place UY Scuti in the center of the solar system, its edges would stretch far beyond Jupiter's orbit. As for the dust and gas streaming from the star, all this would extend beyond the orbit of Pluto. That's 400 times the Sun-Earth distance. A black hole is a spot in space where the pull of gravity is so strong that even light can't escape it. But why is gravity so powerful there? Because matter is squeezed into a teeny tiny space. Supermassive black holes, which can be many millions of times the mass of the Sun, tend to lurk in the centers of galaxies. The most massive black hole astronomers have discovered so far is TUN 618. Its mass is equal to that of 66 billion suns. It was the year 2010. With the help of the Fermi telescope, astronomers spotted something ginormous, something entering the Milky Way. Their discovery looked like massive blobs of matter that could only be observed in particular wavelengths of light. They were also about 25,000 light-years tall. Scientists think that the blobs, called Fermi bubbles, could be produced by our galaxy's central black hole. Space seems to be extremely deserted, but some places are even emptier than the rest, like Supervoid in Eridanus. Astronomers noticed this huge region of empty space in 2004. The area stretches 1.8 billion light-years across. It's mysteriously devoid of gas, dust, stars, and even dark matter. A nebula is a massive cloud of gas and dust floating in space. Some nebulae form when a star is nearing the end of its life and throws out loads of gas and dust. Others appear in regions where new stars are forming. The largest nebula we know about is the Tarantula Nebula. In its longest span, it measures over 1,800 light-years. This nebula, also known as 30 Doradus, is located around 170,000 light-years away from Earth. Unlike its namesake, the tarantula isn't dangerous. Quite the opposite. It's a stellar nursery, which means it's a region where tons of young stars are born. Even cooler, it's the most active star-forming area in our entire galactic neighborhood. In 2021, the biggest ever comet we know about entered our solar system. It was 85 miles across, and its icy nucleus was 50 times greater than the nucleus of the previous record breaker. The intruder's mass was a whopping 100,000 times bigger than that of the average comet. In fact, see 2014 UN 271, Bernardinelli Bernstein, was so large that astronomers first classified it as a minor planet. Is it going to crash into Earth? Nah. It won't get closer than 1 billion miles to our beautiful green planet, and it won't happen until 2031. But could there be comets even bigger than that? Who knows, but the thought is terrifying. There are loads of bizarre things in the universe, and hypothetical nuclear pasta is one of them. If it does exist, nuclear pasta is the strongest material in the entire universe. It forms from the leftovers of extinguished stars when this substance gets squeezed into spaghetti-like tangles of material. It can theoretically break, but only if you apply 10 billion times the pressure needed to shatter steel. Pulsars are spherical space objects the size of a large city, but they pack more mass than the entire Sun. They radiate 2 narrow beams of light, sending them in opposite directions. The Black Widow pulsar, just like its spider namesake, is munching on its partner. It's a lightweight brown dwarf star. The more material the pulsar consumes, the more slowly it spins. The energy the neutron star is losing in the process causes its companion star to dwindle. Haumea is a dwarf planet orbiting the Kuiper belt. It's a donut-shaped ring of objects around the Sun that extends just beyond the orbit of Neptune. The mini-planet has a bizarre, elongated shape and 2 moons. The day on this planet lasts just 4 hours, which makes it the fastest spinning large object in the solar system. But the most mysterious thing about Haumea is that the planet has a thin, 40-mile-wide ring circling it. What is it? Where did it come from? No one knows. Could be the result of a collision that happened in the distant past. The 18th brightest star in the night sky, Fomalhaut, is a terrifying sight. It's dubbed the Eye of Sauron because it looks like a ring of dust and debris circling it. It makes the star look like a giant eye staring into your soul. The intimidating star is more than twice the mass of the Sun. It's 25 light-years away from Earth, which isn't that far away considering distances in space. Look at this butterfly. Its wingspan is more than 3 light-years, and the structure inside this nebula is one of the most complicated ever observed. The nebula's central star, a white dwarf, is heated to an incredible 450,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It means it was formed from another gargantuan star, more than 5 times the size of the Sun. The white dwarf is surrounded by a thick disk of dust and gas at the equator. That's what probably makes the whole structure look like an hourglass or a butterfly.
There are almost no similarities between Earth and Jupiter. Ours is a sweet, small planet with plants and cute pandas. Jupiter is a giant gas horror with furious hurricanes which never subside. And if you fall into this planet, you might literally fly through it. But what would happen if our Earth was the size of the father of the solar system? Oh, this is going to be fun. Jupiter is a planet so big that I bet you can't even imagine its scale. Its radius is about 11 times the radius of Earth, and it's about 316 times more massive. So, to turn Earth into another Jupiter, we'd need to increase its radius by 11 times. If the planet's density remained the same, then the mass of our new Earth would increase greatly. Actually, it'd be as much as 4 times larger than Jupiter's. Of course, these changes wouldn't go smoothly. The very first thing that we would immediately notice, nope, not the size, gravity. It would increase by about 11 times compared to old Earth's. Scientists say we can actually survive on a planet with greater gravity, but only if it's less than 5 times stronger than what we have now. Well, let's assume that we're daredevils, always ready to challenge nature. What would our life be like? Well, not very pleasant. After each step, you'd have to sit down on a bench and take a break, as if you've just run a marathon. Yes, it would be that hard to walk. Oh, and good luck with getting up later. In order to somehow move around this planet, we'd have to pump up very strong muscles. No more problems with junk food, 'cause you'd have to become a heavy lifter just to get to the refrigerator. The force of gravity affects not only movement, but also the size of everything. Do you know that many astronauts gain some height due to weightlessness in space? So if you're worried about being short, here's a solution for you. On the other hand, strong gravity would make us all shorter. This would go not only for humans, but for everything on our planet. Trees would become very small. To grow upward, they would have to move water from their roots to branches, which would be unrealistic with such gravity. So they'd all turn into little bushes. Also, no more mountains. Even the largest ones would become very small. But at least, now, everyone would be able to conquer Everest. This would also apply to animals. Our pets would have to quickly evolve into pumped-up corgis just to be able to walk somehow. Oh, and say goodbye to birds, of course. If you think that's not enough suffering, let's add another thing. It would be very difficult for us to breathe. Atmospheric pressure would increase dramatically. That's because Earth would start to pull air toward itself with great force. You'd literally feel the weight of it on your shoulders. Remember what I said about taking a break after each step? Now, imagine that you'd also have to breathe through a pillow. Yeah. And that's not all. Atmospheric pressure plays an important role in the behavior of water molecules. It would be much more difficult for water to boil or turn into ice. Most icebergs would melt, and it's possible that we'd have no more clouds, too. All water vapor would come crashing down on us in giant torrents of rain. We'd be lucky if we didn't get flooded instantly. But, oddly enough, there would also be some advantages. For example, everything around us would become much more spacious. Assuming we didn't get flooded, there would even be a bunch of deserted areas on the planet. Maybe land prices would finally fall. But these unexplored areas would most likely remain unexplored, since we'd hardly be able to travel across seas and oceans. Not only because moving across the water would be incredibly difficult, but also because all water bodies on the planet would become 10 times larger. The very thought of getting lost in the ocean is frightening, but imagine if it was 10 times deeper and bigger? Uh-oh. So, no more sailing. And forget about flying by plane, or visiting space ever again. But it seems like it's still not all. If Earth was the size of Jupiter, we'd also have volcanoes raging everywhere. Due to the increase in its mass, Earth would become terribly unstable. All extinct volcanoes would become active again, and there would be lava and poisonous gases everywhere. In 1883, there was the most destructive eruption in the history of humankind, the eruption of the Krakatoa volcano. It occurred on one small island, but people all over the planet could feel the consequences. The eruption destroyed the island, triggered many tsunamis, and clouds of poisonous gases spread for miles. Now imagine this, but 10 times worse. That's what would happen on our Jupiter-sized Earth. It would probably be similar to the fall of the Chicxulub meteorite, the one that wiped dinosaurs off the face of the Earth. Then, poisonous gases spread all over the planet, causing one of the greatest massive extinctions in the history of Earth. Oh, and we would also lose the magnetic field, like the cherry on top of the cake. The magnetic field is very important for life on Earth. According to Rory Barnes from the University of Washington, it shields life on the planet from the nastiness of space, which means all sorts of radiation and solar winds. There's a molten iron core inside our planet that is responsible for producing the magnetic field. If the amount of pressure on this core increased due to gravity, it could solidify. And because of this, Earth's magnetic field would disappear. We would be exposed to the effects of cosmic radiation. Too scary to even imagine. Alright, so now we know that living on this new Earth would be a real nightmare. But what about outer space? You've probably heard that Jupiter, thanks to its strong gravity, protects us from asteroids. Well, this would become our job. Jupiter experiences about 24,000 collisions a year, and now it'd be our destiny. Do you remember me mentioning the Chicxulub meteorite? Similar tragedies happen to our planet once every 100 million years or so. But if it became the size of Jupiter, these guys would visit us every Friday. Also, we'd have to say bye-bye to the moon. Our natural satellite is too close to us. So if Earth grew in size, it would be a real catastrophe. We would literally watch the moon being torn apart in the sky. Of course, after that, all these fragments would crash into us. One of the theories claims that billions of years ago, the moon somehow separated from Earth, and its pieces gathered into a ball. Now, it would be like watching its creation rewind. And even if the moon survived, somehow remaining in Earth's orbit, the changes in the tides would still be dramatic. The consequences of these changes would be very unpredictable, but probably a bunch of tsunamis would be some of them. On the other hand, we'd probably gain a couple of new moons. Jupiter has as many as 79 of them. It would probably be a spectacular view, if only gas clouds from all those volcanic eruptions didn't block it. Also, the appearance of a second giant planet would have significant consequences for the whole solar system. Don't worry, other planets wouldn't crash into us. Many people underestimate just how far the planets are from one another. But still, the new Earth would shift the orbits of other planets a little and affect the rotation speed. And Earth itself would rotate around the Sun much more slowly because of its huge mass. For example, 1 year equals 12 Earth years on Jupiter. All this, of course, would greatly affect seasons and the climate in general. So, would there be life on Earth? Bold of you to even ask this question. But if one day we do manage to find a habitable super-Earth close to Jupiter in size, it would be very interesting to take a look at it. Our universe is full of both amazing and terrifying things. You already know about quasars, black holes, dark matter, and so on. But how about the horrors of space that you haven't even heard of? Would you like to visit the most bizarre worlds in the universe? And it's not me who made this list, but NASA themselves. Welcome to the Galaxy of Horrors, NASA's awesome Halloween collection. Please join me on a journey to some planets and tell me which ones you would consider the most horrible. Buckle up! Our first destination is a gas giant called TRES-2b. It's located 750 light-years away from us. If we used a regular spaceship, it would take us about 10 million years to get there. TRES-2b orbits a yellow dwarf, a star similar to our Sun. It also weighs about 1.5 times more than Jupiter. So, what's so special about it? Well, if you're afraid of the dark, you definitely don't want to visit this place. It's the planet of eternal night, the darkest one of all the planets known to us. But it's not that far from its star, so why is that? The thing is, the surface of TRES-2b reflects light even worse than coal does. Because of this, it seems that there's no light at all. If you were flying across the surface of this planet, it would be like walking with a blindfold on your eyes. Oh wait, actually there is some light. An eerie deep red glow surrounds the surface of the planet. This glow is created by the burning atmosphere, which makes TRES-2b a scorching planet. The air there is even hotter than lava. Oh, but if you think that was bad, let me show you the next place of our horror journey. NASA wasn't beating about the bush while nicknaming this one. Now, we're not just talking about one planet, but 3 at once. They're also located quite far away, 2,300 light-years from the Sun. We would have reached them by ship in about 35 million years. All the planets are in the constellation Virgo, and each is extremely light, much lighter than the Earth. These 3 exoplanets are called Poltergeist, Dragger, and Phobator. Cool names, huh? It's because each of these planets is about to become a ghost soon. The thing is, they don't revolve around a star, but around a pulsar. Pulsars are rotating neutron stars with an extremely powerful magnetic field. In simple words, these are the stars that exploded one day. After the explosion, they usually emit such a powerful pulse that it causes the star to rotate at an unimaginable speed, several thousand rotations per second. At the same time, they constantly emit electromagnetic pulses that affect everything around them. So, you've probably already guessed what's happening with our zombie planets. They're slowly, gradually being destroyed under the gigantic influence of radiation. One day, they'll disappear without a trace. Ghost-like planets orbiting an undead star? Yeah, Zombie World is a fitting name. It's also not surprising that scientists nicknamed this pulsar Lich, despite the long official name. Well, at least these guys stick together on their final dance. This planet has a long name, so bear with me. HD 189733b. This gas giant is 65 light-years away from us. It would have taken around 1 million years to get there on a spaceship. This planet is slightly more massive than Jupiter and orbits its star, an orange dwarf, all alone. At first glance, it may seem friendly. A pleasant blue color and curls on the surface. Kind of resembles a summer sky or foam on sea waves, right? Oh, looks are very deceptive, my friend. This planet has a pleasant cobalt blue color, due to the hazy, blow-torched atmosphere. This atmosphere contains silicates that condense when heated. In other words, the clouds on this planet have rain made of glass. Yes, it rains hot glass shards here. Oh, and if that's not enough, there's a raging wind on the surface, which is moving at a speed of 5,400 miles per hour. Just to compare, the fastest wind on Earth had a speed of 254 miles per hour, about 20 times weaker. And because of this, hundreds of thousands of glass shards rush horizontally across the planet's surface at breakneck speed. I really don't envy anyone who would want to try to land there. By the way, this isn't the only example of strange rains in our universe. For example, it rains molten iron on the planet Dimidium. Or let's take so-called carbon planets. Their existence hasn't yet been proven, but if they do exist, there would be tons of black poisonous clouds, and it would rain pure gasoline and hot liquid asphalt. Oh, and also, raindrops would explode upon touching the surface. Nothing special. The next planet, though, is actually really strange. It didn't just revolve around its star, it lived inside the star. This cosmic miracle is called Koi 55b, or Kepler 70b. This planet is very far away from us, 4,000 light years. It would take about 70 million years on a spaceship. It's twice as light as Earth and fully rotates around its star in just a couple of hours. A long time ago, it was an ordinary Earth-like planet about the size of Jupiter. It was peacefully and calmly orbiting its red dwarf star, Koi 55. But everything changed about 700 million years ago. Perhaps you've heard that in a couple billion years, our sun will begin to expand into a huge star, absorbing everything in its path. Well, this is the fate of red dwarfs. Sooner or later, they increase, turning into incredibly hot blue giants. The same thing happened with Koi 55. This star began to increase in size and heat up in temperature, gradually turning into a blue-white giant. It was ready to devour its nearest planets. But Koi 55b didn't care about it. When the star reached it, this planet just settled inside. And moreover, after some time, it left its star, simply returning to the new orbit. How was that even possible? Life inside its star turned Koi 55b into a red-hot round stone. It's one of the hottest planets we've discovered so far. The temperature on it reaches 12,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's hotter than the sun, which is, let me remind you, an actual star. And for some reason, it's still alive and lives as if nothing happened. Unfortunately, sooner or later, the planet will disappear anyway. It's slowly evaporating itself due to the incandescent atmosphere. But still, it somehow managed to survive the journey through the star, which isn't typical for regular planets, to put it mildly. I envy this willpower. However, not all planets are so lucky. Some are gradually being destroyed by their stars, and there is even an entire system among them. This last planet is a sad loner. It's located 870 light-years away from us. The journey by ship to it would take about 25 million years. This planet is about 1.5 times more massive than Jupiter. This is a very sad, dark planet. A doomed gas giant, which is very similar to hot Jupiter, orbits its star all alone. At the same time, it's located so close to its star that its orbital period takes just 1 day. Of course, because of this proximity, the star gradually absorbs WASP-12b. The scorching heat of the star is slowly destroying and devouring the planet's atmosphere. The planet has only around 10 million years left. But what's more interesting, because of this stretching, WASP-12b acquired the shape of an egg. It doesn't even resemble an actual planet anymore. It's also very hot. The surface temperature of the gas giant reaches 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, a spectrograph of cosmic origin, or COS for short, found that the planet exchanges matter with its star. They're located so close that they give each other part of their chemical elements. This is a common phenomenon in closely spaced binary star systems, but this is the first time scientists have seen this in a star-planet relationship. What a unique system. To be honest, if I was guaranteed complete security, I'd be excited to visit at least some of them. What about you? Please let me know in the comments.
TRES-2b, or not to be, is a planet where night never ends. And it's not your regular night with stars shining in the beautiful skies. Here it's pitch dark and scorching hot. TRES-2b is a gas giant, roughly 1.5 times more massive than Jupiter, and its surface absorbs light better than charcoal. It might also have a faint dark red glow because of its burning air, which is as hot as fresh lava. Lovely. In the star system of 55 Cancri, there are 5 planets, 4 of which are gas giants similar to Jupiter and Saturn. But the 5th one, or rather the first because it's closest to the star, is different in a most horrible way. 55 Cancri e is so close to its sun that half the planet's surface is a literal ocean of molten lava. The other half is in eternal darkness because it never sees the sun. The planet is always turned to its star on one side. And between the scorching and the dark, there's the twilight zone, a thin strip of gloomy nothingness. That's a getaway spot. HD 189377b, well, I'm not going to say that again, is the only exoplanet in the orbit of its star. And at first glance, it looks quite pretty, blue and white swirls making up wondrous patterns on the surface. But these pleasant colors actually come from hard silicate particles in the planet's atmosphere, which means it rains glass here. But the worst is that winds reach the speed of 5,400 miles per hour, or almost Mach 7. Well, for comparison, the fastest wind speed on Earth was 254 miles per hour, over 20 times less. Thus, the glass falling from the sky travels horizontally at hypersonic speeds, shredding everything in its path. Better duck. The next system, whose name I won't even try to pronounce, this one, has 3 exoplanets, which are all being slowly destroyed by their own star. It happens because that star is not a regular. It's a pulsar, a rapidly spinning core of an exploded star. It creates powerful electromagnetic pulses in several directions while rotating at several thousand times per second. As a result, the planets orbiting this deceased star are slowly being eaten away and will eventually disappear entirely. Kepler-70, hey, I can say that one, is a hot blue dwarf star that exploded into a red giant some 18 million years ago. At the time, it was orbited by at least 2 planets, the closer of which was a Jupiter-like gas giant. Its name was Kepler-70b, and it still exists, but the overgrown star consumed it and transformed it into a blazing hot rocky world. Right now, it's one of the hottest planets ever discovered. Its temperature is higher than the surface of our Sun. It was lucky to survive spending time inside the star, but it's evaporating now and will probably be no more in the near future. WASP-12b is one of the weirdest and saddest planets out there. The enormous gravity of its star, combined with the planets consisting mostly of gas, result in the star slowly devouring its protege. So pal, what's eating you? My mother. WASP-12b has already taken the form of an egg, stretched toward its merciless sun, and it's unable to do anything with its condition. In another 10 million years, the planet will inevitably succumb to the voracious star's appetite. Hey, you asked. If you ever wondered what it's like to walk on ice and hot coals at the same time, Gliese 436b is a planet that would give you a vivid example. Being extremely close to its sun, the Neptune-sized exoplanet boasts temperatures hotter than a blazing oven, and yet it's covered in ice, which burns incessantly. This ice is much denser due to the enormous gravity of the planet, staying solid even under extreme conditions and not melting away. No list of frightening worlds could do without mentioning Venus, the Earth's evil twin. The second planet from the Sun has an atmosphere so thick and full of clouds that its surface is much hotter than that of Mercury. Volcanic eruptions constantly thrash Venus. Its gravity is almost 100 times stronger than ours, and those clouds I mentioned are not made of water but of sulfuric acid, which condenses and rains down on the ground, adding to the inferno. But even if you were brave, or crazy, enough to try to pass through these clouds, you probably couldn't. The winds up there are as strong as some of the most powerful hurricanes back on Earth. Here we have a very long name for a very cold planet. Although the host star is not too far away, it's a small and rather cool red dwarf, whose light and heat barely even reach the planet. The temperatures out there fall as low as minus 370 degrees, which is only marginally warmer than absolute zero. The exoplanet is thus dark, gloomy, and covered in eternal ice that never thaws. I thought I thaw that Thumbworth. Still, if it has a rocky core, it might generate some heat, so there's a chance that deep below the frozen surface, some unknown alien things might lurk. Dimidium, located roughly 50 light-years away from our solar system, is a planet hostile to any living thing on many accounts. It's tidally locked to its sun, which means one of its sides is always facing the star, while the other is always turned away. The hot side is heated to over 1800 degrees, perpetually blown over with winds reaching 600 miles per hour. And that's winter. Well, actually, I don't know that. Despite Dimidium being a gas giant, it has a large amount of iron in it, which melts and evaporates in the atmosphere, creating clouds. And when those cool down, they fall on the surface in the infernal rain of molten iron. That'll test your mettle. Oxygen is usually viewed as an element that might bring life to a planet, but this is definitely not the case for Osiris. Scientists were shocked to find oxygen on this planet, or rather around it, because it's 8 times closer to its star than Mercury is to the Sun. This extreme distance makes Osiris a living melting pot, where anything that could burn will. It's also responsible for a very short orbit of the planet around the star. A year on Osiris is just 3.5 days on Earth. To boot, the atmosphere of the planet is constantly blown and melted away by the heat from its sun. Vacation? Nah, let's keep looking. Karat Exo 3b is neither as hot nor as cold as some of the others on this list, but it's terrifying in its own more insidious way. It's a gas giant similar in size to Jupiter, yet 20 times denser. This makes this exoplanet's gravity weigh down on everything on its surface 50 times more than it would on Earth. Stepping on it would be your ultimate doom, because you'd be immediately crushed by the density of its atmosphere. Karat 7b is another oven-like world. Its day-to-day temperature is over 4,000 degrees. Combined with the rocky surface, it presents an infernal landscape. The rocks on the ground bubble and boil, evaporating in the atmosphere, where they cool down and eventually fall back on the surface in a brimstone rain. The saddest thing about Karat 7b is that it might have once been a gas giant whose atmosphere melted away from the heat, leaving only the scorched core.